All right, okay, let's have a meeting tonight. All righty, folks, before we start the official meeting, as you guys know, usually we do this during the meeting, but I want to have oh yeah, we are live on, YouTube right now. Anyway, wanted to go ahead and swear in a, firefighter. So hop in here, Derek, and I can see after me, if you will. Basically, this camera right here is on us. Anyway, raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Derek Taylor.
I, Derek Taylor,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully support
I will faithfully support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution
and the Constitution
of the State of Mississippi,
and the State of Mississippi,
and obey the laws thereof,
and obey the laws thereof,
that I am not disqualified
that I am not disqualified
from holding the office
in holding the office
of firefighter,
of firefighter.
that I will faithfully discharge
I will faithfully discharge
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
upon which I am about to enter.
upon which I am about to enter.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Yeah, thanks, gang.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All righty, I would like to call the meeting to order. The official, I guess the officially latest starting meeting we've ever had. We are our history-making board here. But anyway, we've got all the aldermen here. We've got Clerk Melissa Martin, Attorney Rocky Eaton. So if we could, now I haven't called anybody, but Mr. Lott, if you would lead us in a prayer and the pledge.
Pray with me, please. Father God, we thank you for your love for us and the way that you show that love to us all the time. Help us to understand you're with us every minute of every day. No matter what we're doing, you are there. And Lord, may we be ones who will submit to what you want us to do. And even in this meeting, as your city leaders of this city, we pray, Father, that you'll guide us to do what you would have us to do, not necessarily what we want to do, but what's the best thing for our city. For us in Jesus' name I pray.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Wrong glasses on. There we go. Now we're better. All right, is there a motion to adopt the agenda with, the last one you sent out? It's not on here. With the one, where we're, yeah, the addition to the, unmarked, units. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? All righty, is there a motion to accept the consent agendas 1 through 5?
Motion.
Is there a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All righty, public comment. Emily, you out there?
Yeah.
Come on up here. What's going
Short
on?
joke, man.
I know I got the worst seat in the house. I can't see half the folks, and Josh always makes sure he sits behind it, and I'm really,
I know, I should just.
hey, what's going on? How you doing?
It's nice to be here again. Happy Mardi Gras.
Mhm.
Happy everybody. My soul just brings me back here every time, you know, I'm obsessed with public health. And I've learned a lot since the last time I was here about the state of Mississippi, about what's upstream from us, about monopolies, and about cover-ups, and about a whole statewide public health crisis that we have in the state of Mississippi. I was canvassing for medical cannabis and patient access in Madison County, in the Jackson area, in Gluckstadt. I quickly, door to door, was basically telling people, do you know you're exposed? Like, do you know you're exposed? You know, and do you know that your government is keeping you from a plant that will help you? And the more, I mean, I can just I've had heavy metal poisoning. I know the signs there. And then I started doing a whole lot of research with scientists in Madison County, did some illegal dumping for a long time, and in the 90s was heavily cited. And to this day, they have one of the highest rates of cancer in the state and in the nation. That's not in the news, my friends. It's harsh truths that I feel like I have to come in here and talk about. The moral of my story today is what we don't know can and will hurt us. All right. Threats to our public safety right here imminently. Georgia Pacific is right upstream. There's a place called Taylorsville. Whoo, Taylorsville. I know there's already been litigation, a whole lot of proof, and I've talked with chemical engineers. We've had some horrible things come downstream for our public health here over the course of many years. And I attended a protest in Taylorsville. A young man, 25 years old, was murdered, decapitated, found with his genitals in his mouth. And the police, Smith County, definitely seems involved. You know, they seem to be covering up.
Emily, do you have anything really local that would address anything that's on the agenda or something that are dealing with the city of Petal?
Well, see, this is a public health, I'm talking about a public health threat. This is right up the road, and what I'm talking about, these chemicals come downstream. So right now, I've been canvassing on the coast. Mississippi Power there, the Watson plant burns coal. So my friends have multiple sclerosis, they're told it's genetic. Right here in Wesley Merritt, I talked about my own personal story, talking local. The woman said, I have been a member of Macedonia Church for a while. Every deacon in my church has brain cancer. I'm not, you know, the sensitive topic. Did brain cancer in Max happen as a result of an environmental contamination? Do we know that? Are we looking into the answers? Are we seeking? These are my questions today to the city of Petal. I don't know what to do to really activate a proper investigation or funding towards trying to look into this. It seems like I'm battling upstream and not really getting anywhere with the city of Petal. I'm not mad. I'm frustrated because ultimately I just want to protect residents. If we have an environmental exposure, I want to help gain access to care to the state, not even just right here. I'm fully involved in the state at this point, everywhere I've been and everything I've seen. So at this point, I feel like we need to have either a meeting about this where there's more time, show presentations to residents. I don't know what we need to do exactly, but I feel like it's a city issue that we need to talk about. We're showing high levels of lead in playgrounds. We need to test more. You know, we need to know what we're working with here. You know, I know my friend's showing a lot of stuff where there's a lot of Parkinson's here. There's a lot of cancer here. There's a lot of Alzheimer's here. There's a lot of conditions that show signs of heavy metal exposure here. So I don't want to call out bad people or good people, or it's not that. I just feel like I hope somebody's listening, and I hope somebody with some power in Petal maybe, you know, starts helping out, because I do feel like this is real and this is all of us. And I pray to God, you know, that we take this seriously. And thank you so much for your time. I feel like I should ask for some money for funding to test some people or some soil, but I'm not that. I'm a person, you know. I've been doing this for over a year, and I feel like I've been kind of getting shooed under the rug, like it's not serious. I don't know, you know, are we willing to risk that at this point? Am I just completely, you know, having no grounds to worry? Do the citizens have no grounds to worry?
Maybe we get our water tested.
We get the water tested. I mean, that's actually kind of above our authority level. I mean, a lot of this will be DEQ, EPA, things of that nature, would trigger most of what we're going to see. Anytime we've had any instances, you know, we get tested and we get all that stuff on a local level. Obviously, we're dealing with 3 different water departments, us, Barrington and Sunrise, and then there's East Abuchi, which is another. So I know there's a lot of moving parts. So maybe that would be an avenue as well. But anyway, we appreciate your input this evening.
I'm interested in testing the population if people want to volunteer. That's what I had the testing to prove what I was exposed to, right? So I can actually, scientifically know it's not even just guesswork, And so thank you so much. Take care. Happy Mardi Gras. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Josh and Glenn, y'all don't mind if I hold y'all till later in the meeting when those subjects come up? In light of that, is there a Mr. Willie Smith here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Come on up here, Mr. Willie.
Good to see you, Willie.
All right, sure.
Where you live at, Mr. Willie?
31 Smith Road.
Okay. What's going on?
Trash and sewer problem.
He's got a high school bill on the
Yes,
trash bill.
yes, $70,000.
Hello. What's going on?
Well, a few years ago, Daddy passed away,
Mhm.
and the government kind of built him a little house, government house. All right, and when he passed away, was nobody staying in the house for a little while, so I moved in it. And after I moved in it, when none of this explained to me about the billing part. Only thing explained to me.
You are hooked up to the sewer?
Well,
Right.
yeah. Yeah. And since I've been in it, they had came and, maintained no sewer and nothing, did no work on it, nothing. They
Now,
said it's private property.
you're on Barrington Water though, aren't you?
Yeah, paying water bill. Yeah. That was the only thing I was told to pay, the water bill,
So basically, you've been paying your water bill. but
Yeah.
The sewage
We
and trash
keep the
bills.
water up.
You don't want to hook, you didn't even know it was.
Yeah, I didn't know the sewer and the garbage trash gonna be, separate with it.
Have you had a trash can?
No, sure, well,
Sounds like a big situation.
Yeah, we do have a lot of that. And obviously, if you live in the city, we're gonna come and cut your water off, whereas obviously if you're on Barrington like I am,
yeah.
it's a little bit more difficult to get in there and cut
Well, I'm
somebody's
not
sewer.
having no water bill,
Yeah.
man, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, they'll come and cut you off. Barrington will come and cut you off.
But like, when I was staying in Hattiesburg, they had all the bills on,
Yeah.
on to the
Actually
water bill.
unusual. And they've got a couple spots when you get out further west where they're dealing with different, so
Yeah,
they have this, I guess I've kind of come to finding out as many board members, all the cities have problems to different degrees. You're a bigger city, you have more of them.
Yeah.
Littler, you have less. But anyway, obviously, we're not in I think you signed a hardship at some point where you were gonna pay a little extra every
yeah,
month.
well, I'm gonna try to do my best on paying it, a little bit every month.
That was in April of 22.
Yeah.
He's made one payment of $63.75 in May of last year.
Yeah, we definitely need to get you on board paying again, at least keeping up to speed going forward, for sure.
Okay,
At some point, we're gonna deal with that probably a little more harshly,
yeah,
than we are today. Obviously, we've looked at it at some point, something coming out and cutting folks sewer off.
yeah,
The state doesn't allow us to give away a free service, and that's kind of the issue with us. And Waste Pro, even with or without cans, we're paying for it. So it means the paying people are paying for it. So, I guess come in and set up a number if we could.
He did that in
yeah,
April of
yeah,
last
cause
year.
I'm on a fixed income, and that, don't work no more, so that.
Yeah, we definitely needed the 63.75 or whatever it
They
is.
don't ever get paid off.
I mean, it's
True.
whatever.
Yeah, if you could pay a little extra over the 63.75, I don't know what that number will be, come in and visit with us.
Okay.
Well, we'll have that conversation with the girls in the
Third of the
back,
month,
Yeah.
yeah, third of the month, yeah.
but, I mean, that still can probably be $80, $90, $100 though.
Yeah.
Because the regular bill, if you're called up, the regular bill is what, 63, 75? Something like that.
Okay,
Just for trash and sewer. Now, if we can kind of get you up to speed, we can get you a can and kind of go from there.
okay,
But, you probably got a letter from some of the stuff we've been sending out lately with some of the
Yeah.
folks that have, we don't want you to get so far behind that we get in a situation like this,
Okay.
as best we can. But anyway, we want to work with you. No, we
okay,
don't want to go out there and cut somebody's sewer off as well, but I can't say that in the future wouldn't happen.
okay.
So,
We
anyway,
are
yeah.
talking about, having to do that. We get audited and we,
Like I said, I try to do my best, paying a little bit every month.
One of the things that might help is, have you utilized PRVO services here? Have you gone
yeah,
in?
that might be a
Because
good.
that has been a successful, so for some of our clients.
Do they do it for just sewer and trash?
Yes, they
Or
will.
just sewer, whatever?
Yeah,
You
they
can
will.
come and see Priscilla about
Huh?
Princess, I'm sorry.
the friends,
I was going.
Or Ada, or Ada. We need you to come in and sit down with you with, like I said, Princess or Angel, who we coach people through the application of that and the process for that. And that won't take care of the whole amount because there's a limit to there's a threshold on the top end of that. But that will eat in some of that $7,900. But I would stress, we have to work at least a monthly payment because you're using services that other people are subsidizing. They're paying, if you're not paying anything, then that's not fair for the rest of the citizens. And so but I think the PRVO is a great first step that we can help work the backlog, and then, like I said, step by step, and work with the rest of the community, and your Alderman, Steve Stringer, will work with you on that. So, that's, we appreciate you coming in, because if you're not coming in and talking to us,
Yeah, we don't get
then then it's hard for us to put a face to a name, and like I said, we can work with that. And I think that's all Alderman here can speak to that. It's easier to say no if there's no face to a name and that familiarity, and then, like I said, the Alderman and Steve's can work with you on that. So, thank you for coming in.
Well, you need to come and get PRVO.
Okay.
Go ahead and get that done quickly. okay?
yeah,
Okay.
if it's gonna keep going up, if you don't get some help on it.
Okay.
We'll do a weekend, but that, like I said,
Like this week, my friend, this week,
Yeah.
okay?
Okay, that'll work.
Could I get that in the form of a motion to put him back on a hardship?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
And have we picked up this trash can? Is that on a work order? I mean, do we have a work order that says
We
that?
have
we
a
picked up?
work order that says we did.
Okay, good. That would help, for future opportunities for things that we do.
So, when I come in, who I need to see?
You're,
Start with Melissa.
Okay, all right.
Melissa points in the right direction.
Just yell real loud when you come in.
she's not far.
All right.
You did, Mr.
Thank you.
Woodbridge.
All right, appreciate it.
All right, we've got no proclamations and resolutions, bids and quotes. Number 6, a motion to request to accept the bid from Cadence Bank for municipal depository for the term ending 2026. And that's just a legal requirement that we have to do every once in a while. And
We need to know. if you
Are we
want
doing fixed or variable?
Let me know.
My recommendation is based on what we see coming. I go with variable. It's a 4-year commitment, right? 5
For
year,
your
4-year based on what we're seeing.
variable
True.
interest rate.
You wanna make that motion?
Yes, I'll make that motion.
Now Steve will go with second. All in favor?
Make it rain.
No, no old business. General business, number 7, request to accept the engineering agreement for Shaw's Dearman and Waits for services related to constructing the northern access road to Friendly Park. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second for discussion.
Who made that motion, Drew?
Great.
Great.
Oh, no, cricket, man. Oh, wrong.
Yeah, Craig did.
Another Craig.
Go ahead.
I think we got like,
I want to know, what is our vision for this area? I know that we're trying to put in this new access road to the park, but there's already an access road to the park. So what's our long-term plan for connecting to East Central again?
Oh, this would actually go, this is from some property that we got from, oddly enough,
Next to
Jimmy
Wendy's.
Dale.
Mhm.
Right next to Wendy.
That's basically across
East
from,
Central,
the Hancock Bank. If you look on TSC or TCS maps, TSC maps, I'm told, you can see basically the little spot of land that we own. He actually owns quite a few of the lots right around it,
Mhm.
oddly enough. The idea would be to come in directly from there and split off and go to 2 parking lots. Hopefully, this will take some pressure off of the interchange up at Hillcrest Loop and put people in our downtown area from a direct standpoint, and have a little bit more presentable entrance as well, within budget constraints.
Can I ask, how much it is and where the money's coming from?
$500,000 would be from the money that Larry Bird had gotten us. And then another, this is a truly guesstimated number of up to another $500,000 to come in and do it the right way. There was an initial plan. Unfortunately, the way it was written, it gives us flexibility to move the road up in this area. There was one idea that we would come in there by Dr. Marino's office and go in that way. Not necessarily the most preferable way, because it would zigzag to get back to the upper parking lot, and it would still leave the lower parking lot.
Roller rink access also.
Yeah. So for the lower parking lot. So it was written vaguely enough that we can do it anywhere within that area.
So about half the state funded?
And, yeah. And then technically, we could get some wild bids back and have a conversation afterwards. Honestly, we could. So,
Speak up, buddy.
we'll deal with that when we get it, and we can have, once we get the bids, this just starts the process for the 2 things tonight. It starts the process so we can put it out to bid.
I just don't, I don't know, I'm having a hard time seeing the vision of like what the purpose is of doing this. Like how is this gonna help us grow Russell Park? What's our long-term goal here? Are we gonna develop that area more? Are we going to, what's our plan?
I think
Are
when we
just putting a
initially
road down?
obtained that land with some bartering with Mr. Jimmy Dale, it was the idea to have a more presentable entrance into that area, and possibly even shut off the other, is that Cameron?
Yeah, Cameron.
Cameron, which connects on to Logan. So that idea was possibly floated as well.
I know, speaking as a citizen, it would make it a lot closer to my house, not really, but golly, it cuts off a bunch of driving time,
I was gonna
a
say,
bunch of traffic,
I
and,
know where your house is, it cut off 60 seconds.
yeah. But it definitely brings that side of town closer to the other side of town. I'm excited about it.
Yeah, it's something
The
we've been working
original-
on for years.
The original vision, I was one of the primary folks that kind of helped barter this deal, gosh, 7, 8 years ago, something like that. Really almost kind of forgot about it, because it was always really a pipe dream, even thinking we would ever be able to scratch the surface of having any money to put towards this. It was essentially a thought to essentially bring people in through our downtown area into the front door of the complex instead of having everybody entering through our backyard. That was the goal. What personally I would love to see us explore, I don't know how many years down the road it would be. There's a good bit of frontage property there that would allow for future expansion and growth, either commercially or that having an access road there would potentially help commercial development there, or future growth of the complex, whether it be a baseball field, soccer field, something along those lines.
Definitely a good place for a restaurant.
Any more?
Zoning?
Maybe give the guidance to the engineer, to do it by phases, because you have the entrance, phase 1, and then the laterals, because it's a worst case, yeah, right, we like do it all once, but
Yeah.
if we're.
If the numbers come back wacky, then heck.
Yeah, so if you don't have an entrance, but, maybe we have gravel of the laterals east-west, and then come back and do that phase.
One of the
2.
concerns is it wasn't understood if we would have the commitment to do something really nice, so we're gonna go with the lesser version. If it does end up around the $500,000 number, that's incorporated in that 2.2 million that we were talking about, recently. So we're paying cash for everything, so hopefully, when everything comes back from bid, we're not big, but, anyway. Any more discussion?
No.
Got a motion, got a second, all in favor? Alrighty, number 8, request to accept the, engineering agreement with Shaw Zimmerman Waite for retrofit of ball fields for artificial flame surface. This would actually be for 2 fields. Is there a motion and a second for discussion?
I'll motion.
I'll second for discussion.
Alrighty, guys, I wanna,
I would like to let Mr. Glenn go first.
yeah, come on up, Glenn.
We might go on the side of
Mr. Glenn, Mr. Glenn, I like it. What's going on?
Not much, how you doing?
Yeah, good.
I think this is the first time I've sat over there before with people out here, but never on this side, so. If you follow me on Twitter, social media, I've made a living for 24 and a half years of dealing with athletic fields. From natural fields, primarily in the 1990s, I think in the 2000s when the synthetic fields came along. And I know, what's the anticipated budget on those fields? Do we have that yet?
$50.
A per square foot problem?
No,
What now?
whole thing.
We don't know. We haven't been told, so that's kind of one of the things.
Yeah.
Because
Reality is reality.
the thing is, I mean, they cost probably, I mean, if you do, say $500,000, I think that's thrown around there to do those infills, $500,000. If you do 10,000 square feet, that's $50 a square foot. Now, if we do it, what's the cost per year that the city is gonna be willing to maintain those fields with? That's my question for y'all, because y'all are making the decision to do synthetic field. I think that the heat on it, if you watch, who all Southern Miss fans are
Yeah, like 95 or something,
the
like
heat,
100.
no, I got a picture that was sent to me. The mound before the game against Ole Miss was 150 degrees surface temperature.
Yeah, I got the.
And you're gonna ask kids going there and play on top of that. So the cost per year, what you're gonna put in the budget to maintain these, what's the replacement cost? Because how long does the turf field last?
10 years, yeah, what they're saying.
Okay, possibly, if maintained correctly, if maintained. You look at Southern Miss's field, their football field over there, it is hard as concrete because they did not maintain it, they didn't put the crumb rubber back into it. Another question for you is what kind of infill will they put in there? Is it gonna be the crumb rubber, is it gonna be the cord, is it gonna be one of these, I think they're using ground up shoes to put in there also. So what's the infill that's gonna be? Because I tell people all the time, if you have a tire and you see Emmy chewing on a tire, would you tell her to stop? But yet you're willing to put your athlete, your kids on a synthetic field to go play on top of crumb rubber. I just don't understand. And then the replacement cost. Right now, the money from the 3% tax on food and beverage is coming in pretty freely right now. In 8 years, if you do get the life of 8 years out of it, where's the money gonna come from to replace it? And then the last thing I'll say is that turf, you cannot just take and dump it in a landfill. So there's millions of square feet of turf across the country that are sitting in a field. If you go look at Sacred Heart, when they did their field, they've got a roll of turf that's in the ditch, that's got weeds growing up around it. Because you can't dispose of it in a landfill. So those are my questions for y'all, something to consider.
For their football field?
Sorry?
Yes, for their football.
Yes,
field,
sir.
Yeah.
Yes, I've got a picture of it too.
Correct me if I'm wrong, sir, I called up some people asking about artificial turf, and they also said that one of the considerations is, can't really have smacks in an artificial field. If you spill gum onto that field, it's gonna melt into it. If you drop sunflower seeds or anything along those lines from the dugout, that's gonna contaminate the field.
The manufacturer of the turf will put up a sign that says no sunflower seeds, no gum, no chewing tobacco, no sports drinks, no steel spikes. So there's a lot of restrictions on that, and with it being an open park where you don't lock the gates and people can go and spend time on it whenever they want to, that would be a concern also. Because then, does that, by having those things on the field, does it void your warranty? Yes, there's a warranty on it, but I will tell you, before you sign the agreement to do a synthetic field, I would definitely read the warranty. Because the fine print is very specific in there. And it's a passionate thing about, I just think that it's a knee-jerk reaction. I would like to see the board consider looking at both options, natural and synthetic, to see, because when these fields were built in, I think, what, 08, 09, maybe 2010?
No, it wasn't that long ago. It was actually, the CBs came in, when they come
Well,
in,
it's finished up.
2012-ish.
Okay.
Remember, it was just, I know when I was born in 09, it was just the building out there.
Well, 9 years ago, when they were built, I was asked to come in and look at the plans, and it's a flat field. Water will not drain off the flat field. If a plumber, if anybody's a plumber here, water will not run uphill, and run flat, it's got to run downhill. So I would want the board to consider looking at, to put out 2 bids, artificial and natural, and see how much you gotta put into it to do a natural field, and go back to that. First off, for the safety of the community, and then also so that we just don't follow the Joneses and try to be keeping up with Southern Miss. I mean, if you look at their mound, if you watch a game at Southern Miss, they've had to replace the turf on the mound, and it's just, it's not very eye-appealing, not very safe for the kids either, so. Any other questions for me?
I
see
believe
a lot of-
main,
Oh, I'm sorry.
The main appeal of a turf field, an artificial turf field, is day-to-day maintenance.
Okay.
Am I right in that?
I mean, a lot of people use the artificial because they think they can't maintain the natural fields. But if you maintain the natural field, I mean, now granted, the Super Bowl, they complain about everybody slipping on that.
Yeah.
But you can, if you build it right and maintain a natural field, then it will last a lot longer than 6 years.
I think the person to ask about that would be Josh, like, what is our process holding up? Do we have enough people? Are we struggling to find people? Are you doing all right out there?
Well, people wise, I would say we are good at the moment. We have never had turf before, so I'm actually learning the process of maintaining it and stuff like that as we speak.
One of the reasons our fields are flatter than you typically are gonna find, the CB's built it, and thank goodness they wouldn't be fields out there today, even if they wouldn't have. We had $1.2 million out of $5 million that was left in a particular bond over a decade ago, and I think the lowest bid was 1.8 million. So we were like, woo, and one of the guys that bid it came up and said, I told y'all ain't got enough money. So we weren't fixing to go. So fortunately, Ray Mavis was head of the Navy at the point, and so he was able to get CBs come in, and they enjoyed it because they said, man, we're actually getting to work in our own country, so to help us out. So God bless them that they were able to take care of that, and we were able to come in and do that. But obviously, we've got some problems from a drainage standpoint.
The 1.8 million, did that include the lights, fences, facilities, everything?
I believe it. I'm pretty sure it did.
So it just wasn't just the fields?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
yeah. I mean,
Okay.
those lights out there are like $450,000.
Well,
We got to buy them. They're so nice, we got to buy them twice because the storm came through and I'm again.
I know that we're doing this a lot because we want to fix the drainage, but does fixing the drainage necessitate turf? Is that the avenue that we're talking about? I thought so.
Yeah.
Well, when I first looked at them, I was asked if the fields were laser graded, and I was told they were supposed to be. And I mean, I think there was a loan company that came in with the sod on top of it, and they laid the squares out there with rectangles versus the big 42-inch roll sod, which you would think would go on that field. So I think there's a lot of things that could have been fixed on the front end, but I think there's also things that you can do now to find out how much you need to add to it. I mean, if you did a topographical map of the facility, say, okay, hey, you need to raise it up 6 inches to get the water to drain, then you could avoid spending $500,000 possibly to do synthetic on 2 fields. You're looking at $1 million if you do 500,000 times 2, $1 million to there. And it's funny, everybody says it on, it's only costs 1.3. Is 1.3 a big number?
I'd say so.
But if it's 1.3, if I write on a piece of paper, it's not. But when you put 1,300,000, that's a big number. So, any other questions for me? So.
I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, and I always enjoy you.
Yes, sir.
Come on, I'm not schedule.
I'll preface this by saying.
Follow that.
Yeah. I'll preface this by saying that I'm not a public speaker, and I will probably stumble over everything I've got here. But I wanted to address a couple of things that he mentioned, and I'll say that I'm not on the complete opposite end of the spectrum of how I feel about this. The drainage is in my opinion, the biggest issue with the fourplex. I've got Petal High School's old football field turf at my facility. All this past month and a half, the teams were not able to get on the fields at all. They've been using my place, the turf, the same day it rains. I know some of you guys probably don't have kids playing baseball right now. Maybe in the past when turf wasn't a thing, travel ball wasn't a thing, but I didn't play travel ball when I came through. I played at Petal. I graduated from Petal, lived here my whole life. And my facility and what I'm trying to do with Petal is bring baseball back to Petal. You can look at the records for Petal High School baseball team and see that it's not where it was 20 years ago. 20 years ago, they were in or winning a state championship every 2 to 3 years.
Correct?
96, right? Yep. So my thing is travel ball and baseball itself is evolving rapidly. The days of the rec ball stuff that we played baseball in is not there anymore. My son plays travel ball. We played rec ball here in Petal. And you can look at our attendance and sign-ups, however you want to call it, as far as the teams go for each age group. When they start 9 and 10-year-old kid pitch, which is kind of when it starts getting more competitive, our numbers drop to half of what they were for the 7 and 8-year-old teams. So that's showing that people are exiting rec ball and they're going into travel ball for more competition, whatever their reasons are. But the issue is all of our travel ball people are leaving Petal to play baseball. They're going, I hate to say it, my son does not play for a team in Petal. I wish he did. But the issue is our facilities. We've played tournaments. There was a tournament hosted at the fourplex, it may have been 2 years ago. And the tournament got rained out. And we had called in teams from Jackson. Teams from Jackson don't ever come here. They have turf there. If they're going to come south, they're going to Gulfport, where it's a big, huge turf facility. Those guys came down and played this tournament, and it got rained. And there really wasn't much we could do, and once you have all those guys that get a sour taste in their mouth like that, they never come back. And that's why I've spoken with tournament directors that want to put tournaments on here for travel ball, and I'll explain some numbers on that in a second. But they can't get people to come here because of what we have to offer as far as our facilities and, consistency, because they want to know Monday, are we for sure having this tournament? Well, if we've got rain supposed to come in on Wednesday, I don't know. Are we going to have this tournament? It's going to rain. It's going to be prepared for Saturday. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into the natural fields that really affect consistency on hosting tournaments. Now, I know some people are probably, up in the air on tournament baseball and that type of thing. But my thing with the turf is expensive. I know I've got some of it. It's very expensive. But tournament play can pay for that turf to where the city isn't out that money. Now, I want to throw some numbers out here, and I've spoken with some tournament directors, guys that do this kind of stuff, maybe not for a living, but as a very, paid side gig. So with our 4 fields there, we could have 2014 tournaments pretty easily. 240 families for that 2014, roughly half of being far enough away that they would need to stay here over the weekend. That would bring in, and on an average weekend for travel ball, this is speaking from experience and from some friends, you're going to spend $500 to $700 on lodging and food, just those 2 things in a travel ball weekend. So that's half of 240, so 120 people or families that are going to be spending $500 to $700 a weekend when we were able to host a tournament here. And in my opinion, and some tournament directors that I've spoken with, tournaments are only going to be hosted here if it's turf field, because McGee's got turf, Gulfport's got turf. We're kind of in the middle, but we've got a ton of travel baseball teams around here.
Gulfport, their whole field is turf, isn't it?
It is, and McGee is really the best comparison to what we have here at Petal. They do have more fields, but as far as how the facility's set up, it's very similar to ours. Gulfport's kind of, it's its own thing. It's special for sure. But I will say, we played a tournament last year at Gulfport, and it was one of the worst storms I've ever seen on a baseball field. And we were playing within 30 minutes of that storm being over. It would be a week, at least a week, before we could get back on the
I
field.
think Melissa was actually at one of those tournaments like that down there.
Yeah.
An hour later, they were playing.
Yep, and it's,
Can you just flesh something out for me? I hear that you're saying that the turf dries out a lot faster, but are we separating the drainage issue from turf?
so turf is obviously gonna drain faster. It goes through the turf.
Yes.
Most turf fields have rock underneath.
Let me be more clear. Would a properly draining natural grass system?
Not even close.
Okay.
Not close to turf. I'm sorry.
Excuse me?
And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I know days that personally, other teams couldn't practice on any of the fields around here. Were asking me to come to my turf to practice that same day. And we were able to work out. Now, I mean, I'm not, an architect as far as designing a field and making it drain properly, but I personally have not seen a natural field that can drain as quickly as turf.
One quick question.
Yes.
We're talking about doing 2 fields. Whenever you were talking about the tournament, you were saying that it would take a 4-plex. So to do this, it would be, we'd have to double our budget on it.
That is correct. Now, I don't know, the city numbers and how the back end looks. I know that the numbers that I've come up with, speaking with multiple tournament directors, is that if this happened with 4 fields turf, and we ran tournaments 6 months out of the year, which is relatively standard, 2 tournaments a month, good tournaments a month, that would net close to $240,000 a year. That's if the city ran it. I've got a tournament director that is willing to work with the city, help host the tournaments, and the city keep the profits.
If we don't want to run anything.
Is that just the tournament, or is that considering all this other stuff? Because I have one slight counter on that, on the lodging and eating.
That's just tournament baseball. Has nothing to do with the rec ball stuff, nothing to do with softball. That is just baseball.
No, we don't have lodging, and therefore people are gonna go to Hattiesburg, and if they're gonna be in Hattiesburg, they're probably eat there.
I
as
agree with
well.
that. I believe that something like this would bring the need for lodging here.
And that's a good point.
Josh, we've, PSA, they would like to prefer the turf.
The board, yes, sir.
Okay.
I've spoken with Coach Mills. I know they're playing tonight, so he wasn't able to be here. He feels the same way. He does believe that it would benefit our youth baseball players, and our rec league and our city parks are a funnel for those guys at the high school and middle school. So it's kind of our job to do everything we can to prepare our kids for that. And that's kind of what I've done, trying to open my facility. It's not really about me. This is for the city. And I believe that the city rec ball program and travel ball programs could benefit from this. And I do believe that the travel ball programs in itself that would utilize the facilities could pay for the facilities without the city having to come out of pocket. Now, granted, there's going to be an upfront cost because, they're not going to come.
And I've kind of always been, I don't really count on that. I mean, I've always said it with any of our sports recreation, do it as good as we can do it for our people. And if we can get some on the other side, we're kind of, I think, in a unique position where we don't really get to take advantage of some of the hotels and some of that stuff. But hey, what's wrong with having some nice stuff for our kids to play ball? And then if we can drive some other people into the area, hey.
I mean, it's just like the old saying, if you build it, they'll come type thing. That's
But I will say it has, you hit the nail on the head. It has changed, all that's changed a lot since I played.
Speaking of this, one other concern, the temperature, like 100, I've got some pictures on my phone now of 140 degrees. I've heard of 150, like.
We've played
how's
on
your
100.
kid?
We've played on 150-degree turf. We played at Gulfport in the World Series last year, and we shot the turf at 150. It's hot. Baseball is hot. I've played on turf. It is noticeable, but it's not to a point. I'll tell you this: in 100-degree weather, if we had an option to go play on turf field versus a grass field, we're going to play on turf field. 100% of the time.
That's consistently what I've heard from the PSA. If there's tournament ball, and it's simply because of the rain factor, and we've talked about this when it comes to drainage. We seem to be going through a cycle of where we're getting a lot of rain in a short period of time, and it creates headaches not only for you guys, but for Matt and the gang. So
I do.
It works. So
I do agree with Mr. Glenn that there are issues with turf as far as the accessibility for people just being able to get on it whenever. Sunflower seeds. I mean, that's a big deal. So I'm not saying that if it happens that we should cut it off to public access, because I don't want that at all. I want everybody to be able to get on it, use it, practice, let dad go out there with their kids and play. And, you know, I think that's.
And honestly, nothing's finer than a sunny day on a baseball field.
I agree.
We don't always get a sunny day.
The, real quick question that you brought up, Coach Mills, the high school field is natural.
Correct.
Fully natural.
Is there something around the,
His home plate, I think is synthetic and his mound is synthetic.
That's what I was
He
thinking.
told me last year that he wished he didn't have it. Just because he has seen players blow out their knee on a swing.
That's where you get most of the wear, isn't it?
It is.
That's where you get most of the wear. I mean, the batter's box is.
Battery box and mound, first base, stuff like that. And, you know, the longevity of it, I've spoken with some guys that sell turf, so obviously they're gonna be a little biased most likely. I've got one guy that I've kind of built a relationship with, he works closely with the school. Realistically, he said if it's taken care of, which, you know, that's something that Mr. Glenn spoke on, it's very important to do. We could probably see 15 years out of a baseball field. Football field's gonna be a little different. You got football out there, soccer, band, you got a lot more traffic across the entire field. Whereas baseball, you're gonna have small, high wear areas that can be replaced relatively cheaply and easily. I do believe that we don't need to turf the outfields, fix the drainage there, so that could save on costs. I know y'all kind of already got numbers halfway figured out as far as what to expect there, but, I mean, 15-year life, and it could be potentially paid for in 5 years by the activities there.
We think just from what, I've looked into, a lot of the upfront cost now is that there's not turf out there now, so there's going to be a lot of work done underneath. So that's going to be a lot of the costs that we would acquire.
Yes, sir. The turf guys that I've spoken with told me that, you know, if they were to come in, rip pretty much the majority of that out, start fresh with a solid base, to redo what they do, you'd be looking at roughly a little less than half the cost to redo it in, you know, 10 years, 15 years, whenever, you know, that time comes. So,
That'd be Steve's problem.
you guys have any other questions for me?
Anything else, guys?
No, I played football in Legion Field when it was on the downslide. That hurt.
Didn't they have concrete?
Yes.
Concrete under there, yeah, they, basically it's like a rug with a slab underneath.
Do this, make sure it's not that.
Yeah, no, we're
Yeah,
not
I mean,
slamming.
Definitely, if it happens, it needs to be done professionally and.
Well, right now, it seems like our big question is what kind of bids are we going to get? And if we're
This
doing
starts
this
the
right,
process.
then if we're keeping our options open, then we're looking at 3 different bids. We're looking for natural infield for 2 fields and then infield for 4 fields. As being requested.
This actual contract would actually be just for turfing 2 fields. The
Okay,
infield of the 2 fields. We've got some basic numbers of what you would do, because this is one of the things we want to talk about is the girls softball field down at Triflex. We're fixing to pump in around $65,000. I think, what was it, 120 if we wanted to redo the infields at the fourplex, something like that.
Yes, sir.
Dirt wise, right here.
Yeah, basically, if you kept everything natural. So we're fixing to do, so we're not forgetting the girls softball. We're going to spend around $65,000 redoing the drain. They're going to look really nice. I think it's somebody out of Laurel that does the Laurel field. So that'll be a huge upgrade, but this will basically start the process to get some numbers on turfing 2 of them.
And I'm not saying that, you know, we've got to have 4 fields right now. I'm explaining what 4 fields can bring.
We're doing 2 because that's.
Yeah, I was just explaining what 4 fields could
Got
bring.
money for 2, not for 4. For sure. Anyway, we got some other, obviously, we want to touch every part of our recreation with our 3% monies, and this allows us soccer, splash pads, we got the Matthews Branch project coming on board, the entrance, so we've got a lot of moving parts right now. But yeah, the 2 things tonight basically just puts it in our engineers' hands and gets them to draw up specs to put out for bid.
Yes.
And that process, I mean, once you put it out for bid, that's a 45-day process right there.
And with bid, I mean, we may have to
So
start
then
over
you
anyway.
have to have another conversation then. So
To be honest, we've heard a lot of prices, they're kind of jumping around.
Yeah, I understand.
I need to pin that down.
For reference, Columbia just did this with 6 fields and it was 1.8 million.
I heard about that earlier this week. Why
My,
can't we do?
My first concern, thought, really, it was even before this ever became a reality. It was back several years ago when, you know, the board would be brought, hey, let's drain turf field, you know, and that was seemed like light years ago, but it really wasn't that long ago that we were saying that will never be a possibility financially. But even back then, my first thought and fear with that is, you know, we're not a business, we're not a corporation, we're a city run by elected officials, and we are a current board sitting right here. I've been on here for 12 years, and this is the first year in 12 where we could ever even entertain this conversation. Once you take this step, there's no going back. I mean, there is, I guess, technically, with a whole lot more money. But once you take this step, there's no going back. And although we may be in a favorable position financially today, in 15 years, what will we be leaving for that board to have to deal with in spending hundreds of thousands of dollars when there may be a financially strapped board or city at that point? You know, I don't know, that's and I know, of course, certainly PSA, they're gonna want this, they're gonna be in favor of it. It's gonna help them get on the field, stay on the field, and play ball. That's their concern, that's their desire, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's what they're existing for. But I think we have to, we represent the entire citizenry of the city of Petal, not just, I don't know. It's so hard, because it's a huge decision, it's a huge commitment, and it's pretty well permanent.
Good thing, let's just get the prices and we may not be able to do it anyway.
I do, and I do, they do have, McGee has like, what, 10 fields, 13 fields?
I don't know how many, they definitely have at least twice as many as we've got.
And we're never gonna get the setup like they've got, but they don't have much personnel up there. Really, it's basically grass cutting and the fields drain. I've seen their system set up. They're set up really nice, but they've got some other things too where they can get some side benefits.
Yes.
Whereas I think we should just say, hey, man, we want to do it for the kids and obviously access to the fields. Because if it would have rained on Friday instead of Thursday, Saturday would have never happened. And it barely happened. If you guys did a great job getting together. So I do like the idea of taking some of the pressure off of you worrying about the weather. You let me do that. They pay me to worry. But anyway, any other thoughts?
I would only echo Craig's concern, you know, like the long-term impacts. Like I said, we're committing, and like, there's no right answer and there's no wrong answer. You kind of.
It's a very.
So, and like I said, I think what we're trying to do is we're in the information phase of getting actual quotes and say, you know what, this is the actual dollar cost that we're committing to, and we project 8 years, 10 years, 15 years based on this wear and tear. But, you know, there are some concerns I've heard tonight that I hadn't thought about, you know, about just the access to the fields. Let's be realistic. You know, it wouldn't take much to go down with a can of water fluid and, you know, have fun. And what, you know, I'm just saying, we don't have, because we don't have security. Yeah, but we don't have security, we have to look at security. This is an investment, not necessarily just grass that we can go down and take care of. So there's a second order effects that I'd like to, you know, once we see the final cost, we have to kind of add that. And like I said, it's not as simple, let's do it and be done. Another thing that kind of concerns me somewhat is like, we're only doing 2 fields. So we're kind of like, we're half there, but we don't fix the problem, be able to determine it's only 2 fields.
Yeah.
I mean, so that's like, we either go all in and do it all once, but we don't have, last week, we spent a lot of money last meeting. So it might take us 3, we might take us, 3 or 4 years to offset our 3% to pay for the project we're currently doing. So my concern is that $500,000 is only 2 fields. That's we're not really impacting what we want to impact. We're only like halfway getting there. If we're only halfway doing it, is it really worth the value? Is it a need versus a want versus we're only giving you half? We're trying to satisfy half people. And eventually we'll say, we'll have to do the other 2. Well, that commits to following boards or whoever they are. But I heard a lot of good things, or information I did not know up to this point, but I think my thoughts, and the mayor just said, is I think we go forward and get some information. And I think really the base to me is like, so what? Hey, if it's $200,000 for 2 fields, well, maybe, or that changes the geometry for some of those decisions. But if it's gonna be 600,000 for 2 fields, you know what? And maybe that, we are more a rec league than a transitioning, because one thing you let me know, Josh, is that, at 8, and that age group where people drop off from recreational, start going towards a more, travel team, and that's not just in, and not just in, baseball, we got softball. I mean, and let's face it, our ladies were, and that's why I like the mayor, we're gonna put some effort down there, because, ladies won our states, and how do we develop those next generation of players, which I commend you by having, building a facility to help do that. But I think if we go back and say, let's throw it out there, I would like to know if we could have, if the same cost of doing 4 fields to fix a drainage, that might get us where we need to be, versus only doing 2 fields that we can't use because we can't run full scale tournaments. But so when we send it out back to the engineering firm, maybe have John say, hey, do the work for all 4 fields for the dirt work.
And our hopes and some of the conversations that Josh and I have had, hopefully, that some of the numbers we've gotten would even be lower in a bid situation. So hopefully that'll be the case. But yeah, it's a lot of money. But
would you guys be willing to sit down with people that are more versed on this type of stuff than myself, that have put on these tournaments at turf fields?
Oh, no, and from that standpoint, I think we've got all, I think there's a choice that there's a tournament fixing to happen, and it's a grass field, and another, we're going to the turf field because we don't have, we took one of the problems out of the way.
It's really, for me, strictly more a matter of investment and what's the long term.
And then, like Lynn brought up, there is some long-term numbers. Our numbers are coming in good, so I think we can take
But I've had
this
this
life.
conversation with you at least once a month about, we're really good now. What happens if we accomplish
the
this?
story earlier?
That and our bosses are.
So they're not print it out and give them the story you wrote earlier.
Nobody
Thursday.
reads my stuff anymore.
It'll be Thursday.
Just read it, you just don't want to act like. No, it is, but I think we've taken a business-like approach from that standpoint. We always do what we can do.
About
Because
once a month we have that conversation.
even on the 2 fields that we got, the one variable is, when you do the other 2, if we go this route.
So another thing
When
that,
the money's available, it may be 3 years, it may be 5, it may be,
I've spoken with
I
some
think we've given
guys.
flexibility in our budget, and I think that was a smart move you guys have done.
I do know that there are sanctions out there that would be willing to put up a, sizable amount up front to have rights to host tournaments, so many
I
weeks.
thought you were wanting to sponsor one of the fields or something, maybe we would.
Not there yet.
Maybe we could put Clearwater on the outfield
Yeah.
for a one-time love offering of around $200,000.
I do plan to do everything. I do plan to bring more baseball to Petal, and that is my goal, is to get all of Petal's baseball back to Petal, because, return it to its glory that it.
And obviously, we've got to spend these 3% monies on things in this license, so, the good thing about it is we're borrowing the money from ourselves, and it's always fun to spend money, but we're going to spend it twice, which is, I think, a real smart business thing. We're trying to stay away from the banks. I love the banks, but, we've got some debt that's going to be paid off in a few years, and we've come so far, so close. I think that, and like I said, the numbers are coming in good, from that standpoint. Josh is getting a lot of the girl stuff's happening. We're not waiting for anything on that, other than we're waiting for the season. They're going to do some benches and things of that nature, so Melissa will have a nice red bench to sit on, correct?
Yes, sir.
She's going to give us a full report after April when the season starts, right?
Hey, Josh, on that, the female side, or for the golf softball, have we considered, because leagues over there is a plan, that's not, I'm just echoing what my fellow friend here said about a plan for these sites. And I said, I know we're doing like some deferred maintenance, because really those planes that's just deferred maintenance, fix those seating things, but everything from the parking, like moving that fence line, the back fence line into the current fence line, and you have all that new parking area there.
Yeah, that would be.
Because that's the biggest issue I talked to her about, parking. So, and I say that idea actually came from one of your employees there. So Jason's a smart cookie when he's like, hey, we tear that out and move that thing line in, you
That
have
would be a good idea.
all that. And the other thing is a concrete concourse through the rock area, because that makes it 80 feet, handicap accessible, works all that stuff, but maybe as and I meant to come out and talk to you earlier offline, but that's what those little engineering thing, hey, I said, let John go out there and come with a plan, and come back here, and that'll give you a phone
You
call.
could, Josh, maybe we'll send out, you sent me an email that had a picture of what that guy would actually do out there.
Yes, sir.
If you could send that out to the alderman, it'd be pretty cool.
And I didn't need to hijack, but
No, no, that's fine.
this
I
law
don't
is
have
all about
anything
the
else.
community.
I
I
wanna
appreciate it. That's
Read
a
the
good
bill
way.
for Josh, Lynn, appreciate you guys coming out tonight.
Thanks, Ken.
Thanks, Josh. See you, man.
Any other
Do
comments?
you have any rebuttal comments?
I mean, I was sitting there back here thinking, and he did make a good point. It will bring money to the area. But as you said, there's no logic. And, one thing that I talked to Nick Minchione, you might know who that is? He's the Kentucky baseball coach. They have synthetic. And his players are actually worse players because they're on synthetic. Because of the fact that they don't know how to deal with bad hops. They don't, because it's a true hop every time. So he thinks that the player development would be better on a natural field. He's not, he wishes he'd go back to a synthetic, or get away from synthetic. But, I just think that I appreciate what y'all doing. Let's come here and talk about this, because, obviously it's passionate to Mr. Josh and myself. But, I think there's options that you can do things that, I know you said that you'd rather play on you'd rather play on that, on synthetic when it's 100 degrees. But, if you go stand on synthetic, go out there one day and walk up to it during the summer, and you feel how hot it is. Whichever way you go, whether you go synthetic, natural, whatever, with what you voted on like 2 weeks ago for the soccer complex, I would encourage you to get Josh and his staff more people to maintain it and the right equipment. As I've talked to Craig one day, I said, you don't tell a firefighter to go put out a fire with a garden hose, do you? Or tell your police officer.
Henry's not in here, is
How much does that cost?
Chief Henry left?
Another garden hose.
Yeah, but I'm saying, just get the right equipment.
I agree with that, and do it properly.
Whichever route you go.
There.
Yes, sir.
My question is, would we ask the player what they would rather play with, whether it's synthetic or grass? Ask it. Just I guarantee you, it would be grass.
I think that's kind of my statement on the idea of, boy, when it's sunshiny and it's 80, 85 degrees, you've got the dirt and all that stuff, I mean, it's fantastic. It's just that sometimes we can't schedule the rain like we need to.
Yes, sir. I didn't plan to talk, but, this is a passionate, subject, obviously. Both gentlemen made very good points. But I want to give my perspective. Me and my boys, we once lived in Texas. Texas is a big football state. I know it's not baseball, but we've had the experience in both natural fields and turf. My son, if you ever meet him, he's 14 years old and he stands about 6'5".
A big old boy.
So Craig's seen him before. He has a personal invitation from Nick Saban to be in their summer gig for the little league kids. Every single summer he gets a personal invite. He's passionate about football. Like I said, we played on both turf and natural, and I could tell you my son would rather play on natural.
Thank you.
And I plan on saying this before he said anything about asking the player. But yeah, I'm just giving, as a parent, who's passionate about my kids' passion, and his was playing football.
Any other comments, guys?
Josh.
Oh, Josh, go ahead,
I
Josh.
think Mr. Penny wanted to say something.
Who, what?
Did you want to say something?
Carasi.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought somebody else
Carasi?
was back here.
Ms. Carasi.
Yeah.
No, I did not plan on saying anything. My home is on North George Street, 204 North George Street. I am really worried about the drainage from this. I think there should be, some more, studies about how drainage is gonna happen from this that's being built up and this turf being put in.
Yeah, we've actually, that's part of this, is making sure everything drains out properly and the
Okay, I would-
engineer checks off on it and everything.
I would
Trust
love,
me,
I
I'm
would
big
love
about
to see
drainage.
that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yes, ma'am.
I'm fine with moving it forward with the bids and all that, just.
Yeah,
I
just
think
be,
that's fine to
we gotta
consider
see
as
what
well.
the cost anyway.
No, Craig's got a motion, got a second, all in favor?
Well, are we, is it a bid just for turf or did it actually?
Engineering.
Or we're gonna do both.
Just the engineering.
This is an engineering.
Well, that's okay, but again, he's not
We
line
we
specs
really,
for one
we
of
really
them.
know the numbers on that side, so really we
Okay.
need to decide.
Okay, so,
Fair enough.
Ultimately, the decision will be,
Turf and grass.
yeah, turf or grass. I mean, I don't think we really need to know the numbers from that standpoint, because we actually have money in the bank to do it either way.
Yeah.
So the idea would be, how much rain tolerance do we have? I mean, I see it both ways. I mean, I never, obviously, as I am, I never played on turf. The Saints had turf. That's the only turf I ever saw. But, anyway, so anyway, we can address that whenever we get to that point. But anyway, got a motion, got a second, all in favor? Okay, number 8, or no, that's not number 8, number 9. Request to send the following vehicles to auction per Chief Henry, a 2007 Chevy 1500 and a 2007 GMC 1500. Is there a motion? All in favor? Now, request to accept the resignation of Jamie McGee in the police department effective February 28th. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Jimmy's been with us a while, so good, good folks. Apparently Josh is killing refrigerators. Is there a request, motion to request to accept the dispose of the following in the recreation department? Electrolux refrigerator with that serial number and a Frigidaire refrigerator with that serial number. Is there a motion? All in favor? Josh?
They've been there for many, many years.
They're empty, right?
One's like 02 model and,
You don't have any old deer meat stored in those, do you?
oh, no, sorry. And then the other one was one that was in the concession stand that, we recently found that went out.
Number 12, request to dispose of one eye wash station in the street department.
second.
All in favor? Request to adjust water services billed to 102 Napoleon Street in the amount of $228 due to a leak.
Motion.
Second.
Second.
Steve's not here, but Melissa?
Yes.
All in favor?
Thanks for covering that.
Number 15, request to adjust water services billed to 102 Hawkins Street. Oh, I skipped one, we'll go back to it. In the amount of $1,137 in late fees and the amount of $199.50 due to a leak.
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second for discussion. It's my street, that is actually Hawkins, it comes down to the cobweb where up 3 streets meet. They're putting the new line up my street to pull pressure off your area. And then the pumping station, and what's happened is they keep hitting water lines.
Oh, this from the,
Yeah, up Stewart Drive from Wilson, then the corner goes up. There's a discussion about whether they caused the damage or not. I don't think there is. I walked the property. They did the damage, so she's gonna try to recover the building process for repair from the company that's doing the damage. CNN.
you, Matt, you familiar with that? Or you are now, right?
I am now, and I've heard a little bit about it.
Oh, okay.
But I caught them damaging a water line across from the house. They were gonna walk away from them. They make sure they replace that. The guy had to do without water for the day. There's the street, the house just down from that. There was a line damage there that they ended up paying for themselves. She ended up paying for this damage. But I believe if you walk the property, you figure out that it was stress damage because the lines were brand new. They hadn't replaced it before she moved into the house.
We will note in the system as well that this isn't their one-time forgiveness if that is the will of the board.
That is.
Just in case we're not the ones making the decision on down the road and they say you already had a forgiveness.
It's definitely a different situation.
But, got a motion, got a second?
No, you just not be thinking.
But it's not their one-time forgiveness.
Yes,
If this isn't their one-time, notice, we're going to kill them all. All in favor? let's go back to number 14, request to adjust the water services bill to 124 Wilson Drive in the amount of $230 due to a leak.
Motion.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Oh, yeah, she done it.
Number 16, request to adjust services bills to 105 Morris Street as follows: 102 for water, 45 for sewer, and 714 in tax. Is there a motion? Second,
Like,
all in favor?
Okay.
Okay. Number 17, request to authorize Fairleigh Construction to purchase meters to the water department at cost for new construction per the recommendations and approval of Clearwater Solutions. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Motion and second, any discussion?
I've had, a couple people actually, request this or very similar to it. Is this something that we're willing to, extend to other, contractors or?
Yeah, I think any time that it makes sense for us, in this instance, it was gonna be like 36 meters and it was gonna darn near shut you down for a week.
Yeah.
I think you say, well, what does the contractor get out of it? Because he's obviously, it's probably cheaper for him to just hand us the money and do it. He gets to do it on his timeline, because you're gonna schedule them in. They may be over there tomorrow, they may be over there in 2 weeks. If I'm a contractor and I've got the meter already, but I don't see where that would be a,
I think it's a good idea, for sure.
What would happen is, if we was to go out there and install 36 meters for this property, it would take us a week, week and a half to get them all set and everything. And God forbid if something went wrong, and then that just puts us back
I
on
think
first.
what you're saying though is we extend that, because this says specifically barely construction.
It does, and I know this is more of a, for a specific situation. But since I do have the attention of the mayor and the board, I would throw out that there's other situations where, and I've had people would come and ask me, and I just didn't feel like this was something that the board would be comfortable doing. I think this is a great idea.
Yeah.
But there's other situations where, like, can I put the culverts in, down this entire street I'm working on, where it would be better for the contractor to take care of that.
Yeah.
It seems to me.
Where we buy the culvert and they put it in.
It's almost the same situation, and I really like this idea, I'm actually excited about it, but I do want to kind of like freeze this snapshot in everyone's mind right now, something we've done and possibly can do. Can I say something?
no, never.
You're good. We'll see y'all later. If y'all do decide to do that, I mean, I follow whatever direction y'all want to go. But we gotta make some rules in place for these contractors where we have to go in and inspect it, and make sure, because you get a contractor don't care, which I've ran into some, just bam, cover it up, we'll see you later.
Absolutely.
When it explodes, they're calling the
My
city.
mind.
Yeah, I think that, so yeah, I think feel free to get them in touch with us.
But that would be the same situation here, we're gonna make sure we have to look at this and make
Yeah,
sure it's.
anytime it makes sense, we want to do it, and it's being business friendly.
We've never had any problems out of him, because he's always called us, and, hey, my meters are set, come check it out before we cover it up. Good, go out there and cover it up, look at it, he'll cover it up, go about our business.
This is and I do know, Fairleigh Construction, and I see their work, and it seems to be on point. But I would like to encourage maybe for larger projects, to extend the culverts.
Yeah,
I'll call on to me.
Yeah, with some contractors, if you bring in the culvert, we'll install it. And the only thing we ask is, hey, let us know so we can see if it's on grade. Because if you keep going this way, you got the culvert this way, it's just not doing any good.
And so with this situation, that this is somebody that's earned trust, so.
But we always go behind them and inspect.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Let me ask a question. Is this setting for the tap? Because I'm trying to look through our ordinance in like section 34-87. What are we actually doing here? Are we just,
Basically, because our ordinance is a $900 tap fee, which includes the meter.
so are they doing the tap at that, at a city water line? So they're doing the tap and installing the water meter? Okay. Who owns the water meter at that point?
We do, they're just installed. Or the city does, not we, the city does.
How's that so if they buy them from us at cost? Are we saying that we are just contracting them to install what we ordered that comes in? Because when you order water meter, it's gonna come into our stockyard, right?
Right.
And then you're basically having them if it wasn't fairly, it was John Plummer, one-on-one, say, hey, I need you to go put in 4 taps for us. And we would pay them the cost to do that.
We don't hire anybody to do it. We tap our own. He's just doing it here because he knows if he gets us to do it, it's gonna take us a week and a half.
So the time, so it's more of a time.
Time restraint pretty much.
Right. As part of our contract with Clearwater, water taps was part of your task that was rolled up as part of the requirements for the contract. Right. And taps are one of the few things that actually a revenue producing as any service that we have. So let's say it's 100 taps or 100 taps. And I'm going back to at least 3¼ inch taps. So that's $900, which I think, and Mike's not here, but when we went through the orientation, he was at the time, he's like, hey, these ordinances are way out of whack for the actual cost of doing business. Would you agree with that?
Well, on this case here, it's not costing the city anything because he's already bought all the meters.
Who's bought all the meters? He has?
He has. He's paid deposit on all the meters and he's got everything to tap.
It's basically our meter with the.
Yeah, and that's the ordinance calls for a $100 deposit for the meter, right? Are we using the ordinance $100?
It's a $100 deposit to turn on service, to start the service.
Which basically means institute a tap with a meter.
He's purchased the meters, the brass, everything.
In this instance, he's paying for that.
Yeah.
Under a tap scenario where I'm building one house, we just kind of figure in, we're covering ourselves with the $900. But in truth, if it's more than one, I mean, heck, we're probably losing money.
Yeah.
If you got to spend a week and a half doing it, we probably are.
And
Oh, yeah.
taking our focus on everything else that,
We typically have been cheaper than a lot of the other entities around there. Last I checked anyway. We're higher on everything else though, so we make up for it, so.
Well, I guess that's part of the takeaways. One is I don't think, even Mike Trust had said back 2 years ago, basically, these ordinances, these numbers are out of whack, that, it's actually costing the city money.
Yeah.
And that $900 probably goes, what's the tap cost?
Tap, the meter's like.
Yeah, we're sure the meter, the meter cost. What's the current cost of the meter today? How much?
$654, that's with brass and everything.
So $650. So for $250 is what we're saying, the labor, which involves hours, equipment hours, transport. And maybe in 2014, when we had this ordinance, we put those numbers in, that maybe was in alignment. But right now, those fees are out of whack. And so in real estate, and I'm gonna go back to where our original contract with Clearwater was, these numbers were part of the data you guys had that you estimated. So when we talk about revenue comes in for taps, or because I'm gonna say the meter is part of the tap, because based on our fee, based on our ordinance fee, based on the size of the tap, or size of the outlet. So, those numbers is what, you guys crafted the bill for us as part of the personnel cost. It's rolled up into that process. And the reason I'm going into this is because that was one of the battlefield calculus is that, what you guys say came back with the numbers that, do everything you do, public works, we're gonna do, it's gonna be whatever, like main hours, like $750,000. The man hour cost, for not the equipment cost, not all those costs. But that was those hours of installing something like this. Is now on you as Clearwater, right? It's not on the city.
No, it just lets us focus on other things.
And that's why I want to focus on what we want to say our priorities. So again, that's not really, we are using that revenue, it's different pots of money, but we're including part of that pot of money, let's say 100 taps. And I wish I could speak, originally back in 2000, I think it was like $500. Yeah, but 100 taps or, say, $200, that's $20,000 that we would apply towards paying basically HR costs within, the public works. So they would be revenue into the revenue.
$900 would be losing money, right?
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. That's why I preface it, Mayor, is that our ordinances are bad.
We should.
So number one is, I'm gonna make a recommendation, we have
probably.
to fix that.
Yeah.
And we haven't. But number two is.
We can do a survey of the other entities and see what some of their numbers are. I'm sure they've adjusted.
Yeah. Inflation, so and again, it's just when I look at the overall contract, I go back to the contract with Clearwater. Again, I don't like to, I don't want to, it's good for ease of our builders, which I think is a good way. I mean, that's why there's pros and cons of both this. I think the pro is like, hey, it gets it done quick. It's on their timeline. If they want to work on Saturday or Sunday, guess what? They probably are. You know, versus us, they got to work on our timeline. Same point, this is something that we had outsourced to a contractor, i.e. you, because you are a contractor.
Right.
And that was part of the understanding that you would do the work. If it took you another 5 to hire 10 more people, that's on you.
I understand that.
Yeah, so by saying, well, we can get more work, we can do other stuff for you, that's, okay, yes, you should be, you can have, you know, that frees you up, but at the same point, that's helping you maximize profit.
Well, not necessarily, it's not really costing anything, because he's bought and paid for the meter, he's just doing his own tab, he's paid for everything. So the city hadn't paid for nothing, we hadn't paid for anything, he's paid for everything to install that tap.
Which we would charge Joe Smo $900 if we had to, right?
But that's including the meter and all that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And Stephen does a great job, because we're, you know, he's, you know, we're trying to do the same thing with, you know, Castlewood's got a whole bunch of in the ground. So again, it's just one of those things that there's 3 ways to look at this from the builder's perspective. And really, Stephen's like, hey, how can I do this seamless? You know, it's probably costing him less money, or probably more money to himself, but he can have the freedom to get it done when he needs to on time and not worry about the impacts. 2, from you all, it's like, hey, if I can off-ramp a job on a contractor, another contractor, and free up your own resources to do other missions, okay, that's good for you. But from a revenue sense, you know, those are revenue items, and, you know, whether it be this connection tap, or if we start to do other issues, what other revenue items are we saying, well, we're gonna off-ramp and not bring in as revenue? Because otherwise, now we're just operating on pure, you know, roof tax issues, versus these are things we're all added together when we look at budget, say, well, you know, we budget and say, how much is tax gonna cost? How much are we gonna revenue from tax? Isn't there a line for tax? So what you're recommending right now can impact our revenue as a policy. If we say, you know, this is a good idea to say all builders can do that. And that's the case. That might be the right thing to do. We just need to make sure our revenue estimates for next budget is not
also affecting though how many water leaks I'm gonna fix over the next X number of days. I think that's the sacrifice that we make. Because if I tell him to go do this, he's gonna be over there, because our cost is fixed. Yours kind of moves up and down. And if kind of like the example I've always used is, we're digging ditches, we're not cutting grass. Cutting grass, we're not digging ditches. So we get to decide which one's gonna take place. If I tell you to go put these things in, I'm telling you, a lift station that probably needs to be looked at, hey, let's push that off 3 weeks and we'll get to it when we get to it. Or water leaks or something of that nature. Or my sinkhole.
I don't disagree with that, but there's also, that's part of our clawback. We have a performance evaluation that says, hey, if they don't get to those other tasks, we don't manage their personnel. If they say, well, they don't want to keep 12 people and get to the tasks that last 5 days, in fact, when we do our evaluation of y'all, if those work tasks don't get done, that's really on them. They'll make a decision on how quick they get their tasks done. You know, and if it's not to our satisfaction, then that's where we have the clawback things on.
You want them to put the taps in, is that where you're getting?
I mean, look,
What I'm saying is,
You'll do whatever.
I'll do whatever y'all want to do.
You work what, 7 to 4?
If I
Yeah,
got
I was
to.
gonna say, Fairleig's always done it.
We will not just come up with whatever price he wants we don't have a public works director now to tell us, hey, I'm Fairleigh's gonna buy these meters for X amount of dollars. So y'all have to make that decision. We haven't done a tap for Fairleigh in years.
well, according to our ordinance, we
So
should be.
it's not.
According to our
in the
ordinances, we
budget.
should be. So, I mean, I'm just saying that's why I say we need to kind of clean up the ordinance maker. That's kind of, we just have to kind of, that's kind of what this kind of leads us down that road. Like, I think it's better for business friendly because it helps eliminate stuff, but it's also, if we're gonna make us, we're setting a precedence technically by allowing this, and I'm fine with that if that's the will of the board, but that's gonna be the policy.
I think
As an alderman, we should
that's what
budget
I
policies.
was getting at, and there are 2 sides to this. There is good to this, and your points are legitimate. But yeah, it's setting precedent moving forward. And so this is kind of a moment, you know, like, is this
What we wanna
what we
do.
wanna do? Because I'm gonna come up in here next time I do one, and be like, I want.
We won't say, well, then Blake's gonna say you've had your one.
But that's all I just said, like I said, it's a chance to talk,
We
so.
contradict ourselves all the time. What are you talking? Anyway, no, good point we do need to address too, because I'm really having to refresh my mind on, are we charging enough? Obviously, and Drew always makes a good point of, if we're subsidizing it, somebody's paying for it. So we want to be smart about that too. Maybe take some inventory of what some of the other guys are paying around here. Heck, we may find out what's too high, but at $6.50 just for the meter.
That's just, that's cost of inflation at the time, I'm sure it's crept over the last 7 years, that's only gone up, and it will only keep going up, probably, so.
Down on the coast, it's a 1,042, 1,052, just a tap a meter. So.
That includes the meter too?
That includes the meter, all the mobilization.
Done, ready to go.
Well, the meters have gone up too, so.
Well, appreciate the time of the board there.
Got a motion, got a second, all in favor? Seminars and travel, the fun stuff. Number 18, request.
The unmarked vehicles.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. The addition to the agenda was, we need a motion to consider this is a formal request to accept the following vehicles as unmarked units currently in use by the police department's units 36 with the VIN number right there, a 2022 Ford F-150 police responder, and unit 45 with that VIN number, 2008 Ford Crown Vic. Is there a motion? A motion. Now, motion second, all in favor? And now, let's go to seminar travel. And I'll have some about this in the mayor's report, the brief mayor's report. Request to reimburse Tony Ducker $54 for airport parking and mileage. Is there a motion?
Can you see receipts? I don't see the receipts attached on this.
It's very odd that this came out to 45 even.
Yeah. I stayed in the parking lot next to 30 minutes, so I could get it just right, but, got a motion and a second, all in favor? Number 19, request Daniel Clem and Charlie Sims to attend public safety UAS class, February 7th through the March 2nd, cost $1,961. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Motion second, all in favor? Request for Daniel Clem to attend 4 online classes, for a cost $675. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a second? All in favor? Number 21, request for Drew Craft to attend fire officer training at the State Fire Academy, March 14th through the 16th, May 16th through the 18th, July 25th through the 27th, and October 9th through the 12th. Total cost $1,071. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Motion and a second, all in favor? Number 22, request for Cody Barber to attend investigator school at State Fire Academy on March 20th through 30th. Total cost $760. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Motion and a second, all in favor? 23, request for Ben Taylor to attend MSAT in Gulfport, March 1st. Total cost $20. Wow.
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Orders and ordinances. 24, request to adopt order raising the rate of pay for Caitlin Inge to $13.50 per hour, effective February 22nd. Is there a motion?
Motion.
There's a second, all in favor? And 25, you waited all night for this.
Yes, I did.
I'm so sorry.
I cannot believe Melissa put this, I told her, put this in the top, and here we go. Request to adopt an order hiring Jessica Coleman, full-time in the water department, at a rate of $12 per hour, effective March 8th. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Is there a motion second, all in favor?
All
righty, Jessica, stand up and introduce yourself.
I wasn't expecting to go to 5.
Sometimes we make folks come around and they didn't get on YouTube. So.
Oh, well, I'll stay back here for sure.
You had to give 2 weeks is the reason for the March
Yes,
8th.
yeah, we're currently with ATCO Towing out South Pedal. We'll be giving them 2 weeks in the morning and restarting March 8th. I'm very excited.
Awesome. Well,
Glad
that's
to have you.
appreciate you coming here. We always like to get folks here so so the board doesn't run into someone at Walmart and not know they've worked for them for the past 10 years. But anyway, thanks for coming in. Looking forward to having you up here. All righty. Mayor's report real quickly. Just made a trip from Monday through Wednesday with the ADP. The supervisors have their annual convention every year up in Washington DC. The ADP has a fly-in, which the fly-in this year really incorporated myself and Mayor Toby Barker. So we went up there, met the House for the second year in a row was not in session. So we just met with the Senator Hyde-Smith and Senator Wicker. I thought we had good meetings. They're quick. That's all they do all day is basically meet. But we were able to have some good, I think, substantive conversations with a lot of their staffers who kind of like around here, they do most of the work. So anyway, so I thought that was a good experience just so that pedal, I mean, they got to hear the word pedal for a few minutes. One of the ideas I pitched them, obviously we were talking River District, we were talking mega sites, we were talking bridge stuff over in Hattiesburg. One of the things I pitched to them was one of the things I had given you guys. At some point, we're going to have to put a sewer line under the river. It should build in capacity to the system. And it's really one of those things, as Matt would acknowledge, once it blows, there is no conversations. You got to go out there and get it done. Yeah. And it's different than getting it dug up on dry land. That's the pipe under the river is from the 80s. So you get into that 40, 50 year range, you've got problems. So if we've got a chance to get a new line that buys us another 40, 50 years and builds in capacity to the system, that would be a good thing. So I thought overall it was a good trip. That was my first time to DC. So they did not say welcome to the swamp when I got there. So I was a little discouraged. But anyway, it was a great trip. Appreciate all the folks that worked with us outside. I think it was good to have a pedal representative when it comes to all our other people. And like I said, the contingencies were from Lamar County, the ADP. Forest County goes up there every year as part of one of their national conventions. And it was just kind of nice. I know that was probably the first time somebody from Pedal has been up there. I know this first time that we've taken the fly-in, and it's the first time since I've been in office, would have predated me, would have probably been 06, 07. So the previous board. So anyway, working through that process, got a lot of moving parts. I was glad to get the 2 contracts signed today or signed tomorrow with that stuff, because it'll kind of phase us back into looking at some of the decisions we're about to make, trying to get our money from the state with the MCWI. Anyway, our opportunity to double our ARPA monies. So some of those shoes should be dropping hopefully in March, 1st of April. So those things are still out there. We're still trying to figure out a few things out from discussions we've had. But anyway, anything out here, Miss Ada?
Oh, and I do want to give you the Johnson South for the Black History Program this weekend. Turned out good.
Who won the gift cards?
We had 8 people. I didn't call.
I think they cheated on the gift.
I told them to make sure you've got a couple different chances.
Yeah, because they had tickets on our tables, and the people the tables wasn't full.
You need to talk with Josh about that. I don't know.
The tables wasn't
He
full,
might
and
have.
they just took the card.
Did Steve win all of them?
Yeah, that people just took the cards on the table.
I mean, did Steve win all the gift cards?
Steve was there.
I called the winner.
I just want to let Josh know that it was nice. It should have been more people there, but it was really nice. The food was nice, entertainment was nice, everything was nice. And Steve was there.
It was nice and Steve was there.
Did Steve dance this year?
No.
Steve beat me there. He got that.
I did not dance this year.
Okay. Awesome. Anything else?
One quick question. Out for a little bit, so I was just kind of wondering, do we have any update on the boat project?
Yes, we do. I'm glad you brought that up. I was hoping not to have any bad news in the thing. They've actually they came in and started doing a little bit of road work, Baker Street and Van Slyke. They have reallocated some of their resources because we had that little cold snap that came through here. So they'll be back soon. And I had told Now, the first one just not have come at all, because I was thinking it was a March, April, 1st of May project anyway. So anyway, they'll be back, and I think once they get in here and get anchored in, they can knock that stuff out pretty quick.
Yeah, contractually, they have noticed.
Yeah, they're on.
By 1 March, and they have a 100-day pop.
There is, yeah, there's.
I'm just glad to starting.
Yeah, getting across the, it would be, and Mary, you mentioned it last time, that it'd be nice to actually lay out where, we know where they mobilize, where they're gonna go.
That's what makes it more difficult, is them
School,
kind of.
yeah, let's talk about schools for their buses, they wanna know what kind of disruptions are. They should have a list right now of all the roads we give them, which one they're gonna do from 1 through 33. Yeah, so.
Yeah, I got John, I got John working on
Okay.
that, and it's a tough lick. I tried to get out of my neighborhood one time, and they were doing east west, I had to out there. Guess I'm not, and some lady was moving out of there.
One
and
inch
she was
of
stuck. Anything from the audience?
I wanna tell y'all one thing, this is good news. My son my baby went in the Navy when he was 18 years old.
Yeah.
He's 51 now, and he's retired after 32 years. He retired Thursday.
Wow, congratulations. Thank you, Miss Ada.
He's been in that 32 years, and he's gonna retire Thursday. He was gonna retire overseas, but they're gonna put it on the internet so I can see.
Is he still in town?
He overseas.
Where is he in town? Where you at?
I have no idea. Don't have I can't stand words.
Paula, nice to have you at the meeting as well. Anyway, is there a motion to adjourn? All in favor?
Aye.